Well, if you're a gun voter in southwest Laramie County, you have a choice to make in the upcoming August 20 Republican Party primary. Representative Ben Hornok or his challenger, Bob Geringer. Who's going to fight for your gun rights in the Wyoming House? Stay tuned, guys. We're breaking this race down for you right now. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Wyoming Gun Owners. The August primary is coming up very fast now, and in southwest Laramie County, immediately west of the city of Cheyenne, we're being asked about this matchup in District 42 between incumbent state rep Ben Hornok and his challenger, Bob Geringer. And the question you're asking us is pretty simple. In election years, in a primary election in Wyoming, everyone says they're pro-gun. Everyone has their awkward gun selfies on social media. Everyone's trying to claim to be a fighter, a champion, all these things. And so often what we see in Cheyenne is the exact opposite. So often the same candidates who campaigned loudly on our gun rights did nothing to fight for them, or even worse, join the rhinos and the Democrats to vote to weaken or attack our gun rights. So this cycle, frankly, for a lot of our members and the questions we're getting, it's just all about trust. How do we know who we can trust to fight for our gun rights? In this video, guys, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We can't do that. What we will do, though, is give you guys the information you have to make a more informed decision. We're going to combine voting histories, our candidate survey program, public statements made for or against your gun rights to give you this deep dive on these two candidates. And we're going to begin with Bob Geringer. Now, when it comes to Bob, the real problem here, the red flag that begins to flash immediately, is that Bob has refused to fill out his Wyoming Gun Owners Gun Rights Candidate Questionnaire. In our experience, when a candidate will not survey with WYGO, it almost always means they intend to be part of the Rhino team in Cheyenne, and they don't want to have their views in writing because they intend to break those promises and they don't want to make them publicly. I can't guarantee it's always that way, but it's pretty much always been that way for us here at WYGO. And so when a candidate won't survey, it also means that we don't know how they would vote on the top issues of the day. Would Bob vote to help us finish the fight and get rid of deadly gun-free zones? He won't say. Will he vote for or against Fix NICS mental health gun control? It comes up every couple of years. Would Bob vote for it? Would he vote against it? We don't know because he won't say. The same for every question on our survey. Would he vote to defend Stand Your Ground law? Would he vote to defend our new law that bans red flag gun seizures? What would he do on the top issues facing gun rights in Wyoming? We do not know because Bob Geringer is refusing to fill out the survey. And sometimes a candidate simply forgets or can't find their survey. We mail it to them, we email it to them, a lot of times we text it to them. And so sometimes in a case like this, think, maybe it was a mistake. So we go to their websites, we go to their social media platforms, we look for additional information to give us context. And when we went to Bob Geringer's website, there's not a single reference to the Second Amendment to be seen. Nothing. Now, after this video airs, maybe Bob gets in there and panic adds the Second Amendment tab on his website. Frankly, it happens a lot here in Wyoming after these ads run. But right now, there's zero reference at all to your gun rights. And in Wyoming, in a primary, that's pretty weird. So take it in consideration, that's a real problem. And then we couldn't help but notice as we were looking at his website, we couldn't help but notice all of the endorsements that Bob Geringer has. Now, sometimes an endorsement can be a good thing. Sometimes, though, it's a real sign of who a person's friends are. In the case of Bob Geringer, he's endorsed by the Greater Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. Now, that might sound like that's a good thing. I will assure you that it's not. The Chamber of Commerce has become one of the leading rhino lobby entities that we have here in Wyoming. In fact, several years ago, after WYGO members decapitated the careers of a whole bunch of rhinos in the 2020 primary election cycle, it was the Greater Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce that filed a complaint against us, Wyoming gun owners, trying to force us to surrender our donor names to the state of Wyoming or be forced to shut our doors forever. It was the Cheyenne Chamber that was the ones that filed that complaint with the Secretary of State. Of course, we told the Secretary of State at that time, Ed Buchanan, told them to go pound sand. And once they fined us for non-compliance, we sued them in federal court. It was a 3-year fight, and we won big. We won in district court in Casper. We won again, a much bigger victory in circuit court in Denver. Case closed. We won. We get to do these kind of videos without disclosing our donor information. But that entire complaint was originated and started with the Greater Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. And that's the same rhino trash balls who were endorsing Bob Geringer. So guys, when it comes to Bob, there's no good news. He will not survey. He doesn't even mention gun rights on his website, and his endorsements are some of the leading rhino organizations in the entire state. Dangerous stuff. That brings up Ben Hornok. Now, again, the question is, who do we trust, right? How do we know who we can trust? Well, one way is candidate surveys, and of course we didn't get one here from Bob, but the other way is by looking at deeds, right? Looking at actions. What has somebody done with the time they've had in office? In the case of Ben Hornok, he's only had 2 years, but as you're about to see, he has fought like a dog for those 2 years to advance gun rights. This year, we pushed and successfully passed Senate File 109. This was WIGO's legislation. It's the first of its kind in America that bans red flag gun seizures. We got the bill filed in the Senate, passed it from the Senate side first, over to the House, and from there, we came to Ben Hornok and said, we need you to floor manage this bill. It's a big fight. It's going to get nasty. There's going to be all kinds of attacks on you, attacks on the bill, but we need you guys to handle this fight and get it done. And Ben Hornok was absolutely willing and happy to step in that gap and fight for gun owners here in Wyoming. So the lead floor manager of Senate File 109. And again, we all know what a red flag law is, I think, here in Wyoming. It allows someone who doesn't like you to call the police. The police then call the judge and they say, this guy could be dangerous because his ex-wife said so, right? And if the judge agrees, and they always agree in states that have red flags, the seizure order is issued, your guns are taken before you've ever been charged with a crime. We have banned that practice forever now here in Wyoming because of Ben Hornok. But it wasn't just as simple as going through committee, getting on the floor, and getting it done. The rhinos try to sabotage us at every turn. So once we survived the committee fight, they thought they were going to kill us there. The bill survived. It got to the floor. Then the rhinos began to really panic. And so they turned to Bob Nicholas, one of the biggest rhinos, the biggest rhino to date, frankly, in the Wyoming House. And they said, Bob, you have to destroy this bill with amendments. So Bob Nicholas ran 4 hostile amendments on SF 109. Look them up for yourself. The bill is SF 109. The amendments were number H3003, H3004, H3005, and H3006. 4 amendments, 4 fights, 4 big, nasty debates on the floor, back and forth. All the amendments were designed to destroy the bill. One said that this law does not apply to federal red flag gun seizure orders. One said it does not apply to any judicial initiated red flag gun seizure order. One said that the penalty section would be removed from the bill. All of the amendments were designed to crush SF 109, and Ben Hornok stood in the gap every single time as the floor manager and fought back and fought like hell to protect SF 109. In the end, he was victorious, and because of that, we were victorious here in Wyoming and passed a great pro-gun bill. That was Ben on SF 109. He was also a huge advocate for HB 125. This bill would repeal deadly gun-free zones here in Wyoming. As you probably heard, Mark Gordon broke his campaign promise and vetoed that bill, so that fight still has to be dealt with, but Ben Hornok was there and fought for that. And then, of course, when Governor Gordon vetoed it, he did so after we were adjourned in Cheyenne for the year. The only way to override a governor's veto is to actually be convened in session. And so we began to push out the call for a special session to drag them all back to Cheyenne and have a special session to override Gordon's veto and ram HB 125 right down his throat. We have a simple majority threshold requirement in the House and Senate. We had 16 votes, the necessary amount in the Senate. In the House, it died. We were short because the rhinos blocked it. But in that pressure moment, Ben Hornok, again, was right there. He voted yes on the call for a special session. Excellent work on the part of Representative Hornok. And finally, He has surveyed 100% pro-gun with WYGO. No big surprise. The survey's easy. The deeds, the actions, that's hard. And again, Ben shined in these environments. So guys, the recap is simple. With Ben Hornok, he's had 2 years in Cheyenne, and he has fought like hell for your gun rights all 2 years in a row against the left, against the rhinos, against the media, and he delivered big for gun owners. If you see Ben Hornok, thank him for all he's done for our gun rights. And if you see Rob Geringer, I'd ask this guy, why won't you survey? Why are you refusing to put your views on gun rights in writing? What are you trying to hide? Why are you endorsed by the biggest swamp organizations that we have here in the state? Ask those questions, guys, and see what he has to say. That is our recap on this race, guys. Do me a favor, whether you're watching this on our website, our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter, wherever you're watching it, share it on social media, tag your friends, make sure everyone has the facts about these two candidates. And guys, get involved in the fight today at joinwygo.com.